Real quick up front, I would like to thank every single one of you for subscribing. I am so thankful and humbled by the fact that a week ago I had 50 subscribers, and now at the recording of this video, I have a little over 400, which is the perfect time to review the Fantastic Four, right? Huh? Okay. Thank you all so much for subscribing. It really means the world to me that you took the time to do so. I'm very happy with the Fallout video, how it's turning out right now, and I just couldn't be happier that people enjoyed it. So thank you so much for subscribing. If you're new here, welcome to the channel.
We should take Bikini Bottom and push it somewhere else!
Fantastic Four, a superhero team that has had an unfortunate lack of proper representation in mainstream media. A team that I have loved since I was a kid, and have always felt crazy for defending because I felt I've never had proper evidence to support why I love them. Apart from a few gems here and there, Marvel's first family has just never had the showcase they deserve. But now, the day has finally come. After several years of waiting since Disney acquired Fox, our brand new MCU Fantastic Four is here. So, was it worth the wait? Did they finally get it right? Was the fourth time the charm? Fifth time? Wait, do we count that one? So, was it good? Yeah, it was. But I don't know how I feel. Okay, so this is kind of hard for me to articulate. I liked the movie. I liked it a lot. There were a lot of elements in it that I really enjoyed. Johnny and Ben's relationship, Sue and Reed's. I loved the 1960s Futurama aesthetic backdrop. I mean, all the pieces were there. So why didn't I love it? Well, I think it's due to a larger issue that I'm aware could very well just be my own problem and short-sightedness. But my personal opinion does not mean that I can't give a fair review of the movie itself. So up front, I'm going to give a general review of the film, and then I will go into detail on my thoughts on why something just felt a little off to me. And also, spoiler warning, obviously, if you have not seen it yet. As far as the movie on its own, I did think it was good. It wasn't the best thing since sliced bread, but yeah, it was good. This was easily the most accurate depiction of the Fantastic Four that we've ever had in a movie. They're a group of nerds who just so happen to have superpowers. They have to use a combination of their smarts as well as their powers to overcome evildoers. It's really as simple as that. We are dropped into their Earth 828, with them already being an established team of 4 years. We are given a montage explaining their origins and showing us their good deeds over the years along with how much of an impact they have had on their world. Reed and Sue are pregnant with their son Franklin, which is basically the driving force for the whole plot. It's really a film about family.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
No, stop it. No, get out of here. No. They are celebrities and they're Earth's protectors, having established themselves not only as heroes, but governing figures as well. Everything in this world is perfect until the Silver Surfer shows up to herald Galactus. And pretty much the bulk of the movie is just the Fantastic Four figuring out how to deal with this cosmic villain, since up until this point their biggest adversaries had been villains like the Mole Man. They go to confront Galactus, initially wanting to just negotiate with him, and the plot thickens a little when Galactus offers to spare their Earth in exchange for Reed and Sue's baby. He states their baby is the key to satisfying his hunger, and that the baby will succeed him. This causes the Four to come up with a plan to stop Galactus, which hits a few snags, but they are ultimately victorious. The plot really isn't that complicated, and I like that it isn't. But overall, just pretty basic, you know? Nothing earth-shattering, but it didn't really have to be. But it's a tight, under 2-hour superhero story that's primarily driven by the characterizations of our 4 main heroes. It doesn't require watching literally anything else to enjoy it. It's called Fantastic Four: First Steps, and I think that's pretty accurate considering this is the first MCU movie in a very long time that can kind of actually stand on its own. But onto the Four themselves. Ben Grimm. Ben has a lot of key character moments in this film as the big brother type. He's usually the heart of the team as well as the muscle, and he gets many tender moments to show that he is loved by everyone in this world. But I will say, I wish he had been given just a bit more to do in this film. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's in it a lot, but apart from a few comforting moments he gives to the rest of the team, I feel like his true heart wasn't shown enough. Like, for example, there's this very brief plot line early on where he flirts with some school teacher after showing off to her students, but it doesn't really go anywhere. He only visits her one other time in the film before the final battle just to say hi to her, and then the scene just ends. Like, it didn't do anything. I don't really know why that was in there. I like that his comic-accurate look was presented for the most part, but there were some moments of CGI that I think needed a bit more hours in the oven. I liked that he was a bit more laid back than the typical gruff Brooklyn guy he usually is, but again, I feel like they didn't give him as much as they could have. And yeah, his voice not being gravelly was a little strange because we're obviously used to hearing it that way in most versions, but I think it was fine for this version of him, honestly. He's the big brother of the group, and that definitely shows. Sue Storm. I think Vanessa Kirby did a really good job with her. She had great chemistry with Reed, and she gave Sue a more wizened maturity than most Sues normally get. She got to show off her powers in a lot of unique ways, and I love how she ultimately subdues Galactus as a mother overcoming a larger-than-life obstacle to save her child. And the scene specifically where she had to give birth to Franklin while they're flying past the black hole, that was intense and really emotional, and I think that she did an amazing job showing Sue's strength, because Sue really is the most powerful one out of all four of them. Reed Richards. Pedro, how do I get an agent like yours? I liked Reed in this movie. The obsessive scientist who looks at everything literally with a charming, dorky energy. I was worried that Pedro was going to be distracting as Reed since he's been in so many other big franchises lately, but I think he did a good job for this version of Reed. I know I keep saying version of this Reed, version of this Sue, version of this Ben, and that's really because these guys have so many different variants in the comics, especially Reed with the Council of Reeds, so I don't really have a definitive version of these characters that I prefer. As far as they were presented in this film, they all really worked for what the film is. It wasn't a true adaptation of a specific comic run, and I think that's fine. They had the core elements of what I think these characters are supposed to have, and that is what I think is important. Pedro's good at playing a father figure, and I think he does that just fine here. But now on to Johnny Storm, because I am pretty biased about Johnny. It's gonna be pretty clear that he's my favorite of the four. He was one of my favorite superheroes as a kid. I mean, really, any fire-based hero had a 1000% probability of being one of my favorites when I was a young, edgy lad. I wouldn't classify him as one of my top favorites now, but I still do have a soft spot for him, and I really liked what they did with him here. They actually gave him things to do, and a chance to show off his own smarts. He was the true heart of this film for me. The sarcastic uncle that loves to joke around and may not seem to take things too seriously, but deep down truly cares for his family and isn't afraid to immediately jump in and save them, even if it may mean sacrificing his own life. He wasn't the stereotypical jackass playboy that so many iterations have made him out to be. They actually showed us his intelligence. I mean, he's not a nerd like Reed, but he is an astronaut pilot. There's a reason why he was on the team when they first go up to space when they originally get their powers. His humor and sarcasm comes off more charming and from a place of tough love rather than cruelty. And he seems to take it personally when the rest of the team pokes fun at him, and that kind of adds to why he is sarcastic. He's the younger brother trying to overcompensate, but deep down he just really wants to prove himself, and he will do anything to protect his family. But that's not to say he's not a little bit of a player. There was this big stink a while back when Joseph Quinn stated that a womanizing Johnny Storm just isn't sexy anymore, so they just didn't go that route with this version of the character. But that was a lie, because he 100% has moments like that in this film. Him thirsting after the surfer and Ben ripping on him for doing so worked because he wasn't being a jackass. He's more of a smartass, and there is a difference. It may seem like he was just hitting on Shala because he thought she was hot, but he seems genuinely interested in her and even a little concerned. And him being the one to decipher her language to get through to her at the end was really touching and nice to see for his character. It was just nice to see the Torch as more than just a stereotype, and his charming sass and big heart really carried the movie for me. But he never said flame on once, so 0 out of 10. Also, real quick, Julia Garner does a terrific job as Shala Ball. I really like how sleek and lifelike her design looked when she first appeared. I know a lot of people were ripping on the CGI during the trailers, but I promise you, go see it in IMAX because when she first showed up, I thought it looks really, really good. She portrayed her surfer with equal parts intensity and an underlying vulnerability that added a nice depth to her character. Ralph Ineson provided a very strong performance for Galactus, but Galactus himself didn't really work 100% for me. Like Galactus, for example, had a really cool introduction when we first saw him. Like that first scene of him when they go to confront him in his lair, and he's just kind of this giant, imposing, larger-than-life alien figure standing over them. It was actually kind of scary and kind of intimidating, and it was really cool. But once he got to Earth later on in the final battle, I didn't really feel any particular way about him. He just kind of became a big guy for them to fight, and he was kind of easily duped. I love that they actually made him a physical character rather than a giant cloud, but I don't know, I think Shala was just a much more interesting antagonist. So overall, it was good. Definitely better than most of the recent MCU entries. I do have some nitpicks, like for example, there's this briefly lived conflict when the Four come back from first meeting with Galactus, and they tell the people of Earth that Galactus wanted their baby in exchange for sparing their world, and everyone gets really mad and turns on them saying, you should have sacrificed your son for our safety, and they start protesting outside their building, but Sue just kind of takes their son Franklin out to the protesters and says, this is my son, I won't sacrifice him for you, but I also won't sacrifice all of you for him. And then everyone just immediately decides to not be mad anymore, and then every country on the planet agrees to help them by any means to stop Galactus. It was kind of a pointless and short-lived plot point of everyone just being angry until Sue basically says, please stop being angry, and they just stop. Again, just kind of nitpicky stuff at that point. And yeah, it's not a groundbreaking story, but it is a self-contained story all the way through, which is very refreshing. It's easily the best representation of the Fantastic Four we've ever gotten from a movie, although the bar really wasn't that high. It was fun, it was lighthearted, and it had some really good moments of heart and family. I would recommend it. However, I think my biggest problem isn't really with the movie itself. It's the fact that it's an MCU movie. Even though it is its own self-contained story, I couldn't get the thought out of my head while watching it that this is still leading to something. Like for example, my wife and I saw the movie in a full auditorium, and the loudest reaction from our audience was the mid-credit scene teasing Doctor Doom. That seemed to be what everybody was waiting for, and that's kind of the biggest thing holding this movie back. It's that it's a little too airtight. You know, like Marvel knows that this movie had to be a success. They've heard us complaining nonstop about the Marvel formula, so they really wanted to not make this movie follow that formula. Like for example, a lot of the Marvel quippiness really isn't in this movie. The humor that does exist feels a bit more natural to the characters, and it never really overshadows a scene or takes over an emotional moment. But because of that, I feel like this movie is good, but it could have been something else entirely if it didn't still kind of have to fit into the MCU timeline. You get what I mean? We've been so conditioned by this point by Marvel to look for every little detail and reference as a sneak peek for what's to come, that we almost don't go to these anymore to watch an individual film with its own identity, but rather a 2-hour trailer for the next big ensemble film. And even though, again, this one doesn't have all that as far as cameos and references to the rest of the MCU, I've already seen the end credit scene to Thunderbolts. I know that they're going to be showing up in Earth 616 at some point, so it's like, yeah, there wasn't a reference to the MCU in this film, but the MCU has already shown us the Fantastic Four in their film, so we know what's coming. It is a project on the MCU timeline and is leading to Avengers Doomsday, so even though it is its own thing, it really isn't. And again, this might just be my own problem, but I don't think I'm the only one who feels this way. I feel like it was just holding back in a few areas because they didn't want it to become too much like the other MCU movies, but it still has to be an MCU movie leading up to another MCU movie. And I wish I could just kill that thought and enjoy this movie for what it technically is, but I know too much. I think if you're a general audience member who does not give a shit on anything else other than just, I want to go see a fun summer action movie with superheroes, then I think you're going to love this. But for the rest of us that unfortunately are way too bogged down by this point of what's supposed to be going on, both behind the scenes and in the lore, I don't know, man. It's just, it's hard to turn the brain off for that stuff. When you look at it as its own thing, it's fine. But I can't look at it that way because it technically isn't. You know, it's like those Hershey bars that have the air holes in them. You know, the aerated bars? Ever have one of those? It felt like one of those. Like, yeah, it's a chocolate bar. It tastes like a chocolate bar, but when you bite into it, it just feels like something's not all there. That's probably not a good analogy, but whatever. The movie's fine. I am happy with it. I am happy we got a better representation of the Fantastic Four than we've ever gotten, and I do agree this is one of the best MCU films we've gotten in a while, and I think this might start to change things back to the way I would prefer things to go. I think if they had actually taken a break post-Endgame and then started fresh a few years later with a film like this, I would like it way more. Because it is still an MCU film, and I guess I kind of wish it wasn't. It's good. I recommend it. And I've only seen it once, so maybe my feelings will change with another viewing. So please go see it for yourself and let me know what you think about the movie, or, you know, just comment below, tell me how cynical I am for having my issues with it. But either way, I did have a good time watching it. I think you'll like it too. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one.